All right, so I'm going to see how quickly I can make a delicious creamy mac and cheese. I'm going to gather everything and we'll see how long that takes me. Butter. That's it. That's all you need. Let's get the stove heated up. I'm going to start with the roux. I'm going to take the butter because I want 2 cups of bechamel. I want 2 tablespoons of butter. Because I'm doing 2 tablespoons of butter, I want 2 tablespoons of flour. Let's check on the butter real fast. Turn it down a bit. I don't want that butter smoking. I want it barely at a bubble. All right, while I wait, I can get the egg noodles started. Should have started that first, actually. Those are going to take longer. Get water in the pot. I'm probably going to fill this pot with about 8 cups of water. I'm going to use that whole bag of egg noodles. Why am I using egg noodles? Because that's what I have. You can use whatever you want, though. Yes, you can use macaroni noodles. Those would be preferable, but I don't have macaroni noodles. Honestly, these wide, I think they're spiritini. They work fine. I always want to salt my water. Always salt your pasta water. I like to just give it a good coating on the bottom of the salt, at the bottom of the pot, just so I can see the salt down there. And then I'll let it dissolve and I'll give it a taste. Go. This is ready for the flour. So now that our butter is frothing, I'm going to add my 2 tablespoons of flour, and it's imperative that as soon as I add these, I get to stirring. Something that can handle the heat and stir. You need to stir your roux aggressively. You want to incorporate everything as fast as possible to prevent lumps. As a matter of fact, I took it up off the heat just to give it a little bit more time. This is going quick. Make sure this is all well incorporated. There's no loose flour. And usually a bechamel is nice and clear. I am going to put just a little bit of brown on this roux just to get a bit of nuttiness. Still got that raw flour flavor, so I'll let it cook a little longer. I'm gonna give it another feel. Still feels like butter flour. Let it sit for a minute. Hopefully this pot will stop dancing. While that sits, I'm going to measure out 2 cups of milk. I'm just using skim milk, again, because it's what we have. Most recipes for bechamel will call for whole milk. That's all right. Use what you got. Let's turn this heat up a bit, actually. Now, while I let that all sit, I'm going to grate my cheese. I'd like to give a strict, this is how much cheese you're supposed to put in, but really I'm just going to add cheese until it doesn't seem like it'll accept anymore. So for now, I don't know, about 2 cups worth of cheddar. Always grate more. It's much preferable to grate your own cheese because pre-grated cheese, like this mozzarella here, have starches and anti-clumping agents that will get incorporated into whatever you're making and give it a strange texture, a grainy texture. Agitate the roux a little more, give it another feel. Gonna finish grating this here. Seems like a good amount for now. Roux. Uh-oh. Friendly fire. This roux looks ripping and raring to go. So why don't we start adding it in little by little? So this is the important part. You got to keep it moving. Keep it moving. Just like when you introduce the flour, you want to prevent this from clumping. You can see those clumps. They will go away if you just keep mixing. Keep mixing. Don't put it in too quick. Matter of fact, I'm going to do a little switcheroo here. And make sure to keep it moving, keep it agitated. As it heats up, it's going to thicken. I'm going to keep adding in the milk. It's okay if there's a couple lumps. Like you saw, I transferred from skillet to saucepan mid-cook. That is a big no-no when you're cooking a bechamel, because usually that causes it to break. I'm just going to keep mixing it. Keep mixing it, work those lumps out. Do not want a grainy bechamel. Add the rest of that milk in.
And then it's time to add the pasta.
Now the pasta's in, it becomes a race. I want both of these to finish at right about the same time. This is actually my third time making a bechamel. As you can see, I'm definitely not as deft with it as I was with the shakshuka earlier. I make the shakshuka quite frequently, and I make egg dishes quite frequently. Really good time to test the boil water. Perfect saltiness, actually. So that thin layer of salt I put over the entirety of the bottom of the pot was the perfect level of saltiness. I've heard the platitude that you want it as salty as the sea. I don't buy that. You definitely don't want it that salty, especially in a pasta forward dish like mac. You just want it salty enough where the sauce or whatever the main portion of your dish is isn't so apparently more salty, more flavorful than your noodles. You want to be biting into bland cooked flour, essentially. I'm just going to keep stirring this. Let it get back up to a simmer. As soon as it starts simmering, I'm going to start adding the cheese in. Like I said, this is turning into a race because I want them to finish about the same time. I want to be able to get the pasta out of this water as soon as it's al dente. Don't want it to sit in there a minute long. All right, at this time, I'm giving my bechamel a taste. Needs some salt. I'm not going to put a ton in it because the cheese is quite salty. And some pepper. I'm going to give it a good bit of pepper. I'm going to give it enough to where that top layer is covered in like a film of pepper. I want it speckling my bechamel almost like a carbonara. I turn the heat up a little bit. Let it sit. Agitate these noodles so they don't stick to the bottom of the pot. And get the last piece together. Baking dish. It's bechamel. I could probably start adding in the cheese now. So let's do that. I'll start with my mozzarella because it has starch in it. That starch will thicken the bechamel quickly. Just a pinch. Gonna crank down the heat too. It's go time. Turn the heat off, actually. Cheese gets too hot, it gets grainy. At any point, this sauce can break and get grainy, so you need to be careful. Start adding in my cheddar. More cheese, more cheese. All right. Now that we have our pasta transferred to our baking dish, we can add over our creamy, cheesy bechamel. Ooh. Shake it up a bit to disperse. Set the oven to broil. I'm gonna grate over one final layer of cheese. Now all that's left to do is to pop it in the oven and wait. So visually it probably looks fantastic, but I'll be honest, the sauce totally broke. You can see the sauce broke. And you know what? Still really tasty. Still mac and cheese. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow.